Hey there everybody, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Buborama, and in today's video, I'm going to be ranking every single supercar in Grand Theft Auto 5 Online. Now, I should point out that there are two exceptions. Rocket vehicles like the Rocket Voltic, the Vigilante, and the Scramjet, even though they are in the super class, I'm going to be excluding because you can't race with them, which kind of defeats the purpose, in my opinion, of them being in the super class. The other vehicles that I've excluded is the HSW, down to the very simple reason I'm on PC, so I can't showcase them. Unfortunate, but the sad truth, because Rockstar won't give new gen to PC yet. But even with that, that's only 5 cars missing from the list, which would be all the rocket vehicles, and then I think it's the Coil Cyclone 2 and the Devastate HSW. Even with those vehicles out of the list, we still have 50 supercars, and you don't realize how many cars 50 is until they're laid out in front of you, and we keep running and running and running all the way down to the end of this list. It will be very impressive if I can remember every single one of these vehicles' names and statistics going for them, but I'm going to try and do my best for today's video. Thank you very much to the help of one of my modder friends who got all these cars laid out in front of you so I could make this video. And how we're going to be doing the ranking is we got S tier, the yellow Casco, and then we've got A tier being the red Casco, B tier being the green Casco, and then basically L tier, the tier that you shouldn't be spending your money on, is the Ruiner, the broken Ruiner. So I think that this is a pretty fair ranking. I could have put more cars down here and continued the list, but I feel like this is enough. I mean, there's already a lot of complexity in this tier list as it is. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy this type of content, and let's get straight into it, starting off with the Adder. This is an OG car. I remember in story mode when it would spawn next to the pier, and it was like such a rare vehicle that I always thought when I started playing the game. It's obviously nothing special nowadays. I think it's around $1 million, the Adder, and it's not really that special of a car. It has a top speed of 124.75 miles per hour, which as you can see is pretty fast, but compared to some of the newer supercars in the game, it's nothing special. It drives okay, but it's not very fast because you don't get a spoiler option, so it doesn't have fantastic handling, and even its acceleration isn't very good anymore. I wouldn't say the Adder's a bad vehicle, I just wouldn't say it's a good vehicle either, so we're going to be putting it into the B tier. I definitely don't think it's an absolute F, where you wouldn't ever want to get this car, because it is a Bugatti, and Bugattis are cool and fun to look at, but apart from that, I really wouldn't suggest to buy this vehicle, so it's going all the way down into B tier. Next up, we have the Autark Otarch. I never ever know how to pronounce the vehicle's name. It's a pretty cool car though, comes in at a price tag of $1.995 million. Top speed of 125 miles per hour, and even though it's not the fastest top speed, only about 1 mile per hour faster than a vehicle like the Adder, the main advantage the Autark has is fantastic handling and acceleration. This vehicle actually is 15th out of the 55 supercars in the game when it comes to handling and lap time in general, and you can see that right here. I mean, this car sticks to the ground like an absolute beast, which is just amazing. I love cars that handle super well. So this car is very easily, in my opinion, going up into an S tier just because of its great handling. I also think it looks amazing with all the headlights it's got on the front. Obviously, I should point out now that this is an opinionated tier list, but is it any tier list not opinionated? So yeah, I'm going to easily put this vehicle into S tier. It looks great, handles great, it's got a good top speed, a great mix of mobility added on with that, and it's not the most expensive supercar at $1.9 million. I mean, yeah, that's expensive, but not compared to some of the other vehicles in the game. Now, the Banshee 900R is a really unique... Oh, no. I hate that I parked the cars so close to each other. Let's go over here. The Banshee 900R is a really unique supercar in the class. It's very fast. In fact, it's got one of the highest top speeds in the game at a ridiculous 131 miles per hour. For a very long time, this was tied right up there with the Fister 811 for one of the fastest cars in the game. I think it looks really cool though. It's obviously based off of a Viper of some sort. It is a fairly inexpensive vehicle as well at $565,000 to get the upgrade, and also the Banshee itself is only like 100 and something thousand, 112,000 or something like that. So overall, the Banshee 900R is not an extremely expensive vehicle, although I should point out that when it comes to Benny's upgrades, yeah, it's going to cost you a lot of money to actually fully kit out this vehicle. I just think it looks great though. Obviously, it's got everything kitted out for it, the super big wing on the back, and look at that ridiculous acceleration. Now, the weird part about the Banshee, in my opinion, is its handling's not actually awful. You can see here that, like, we actually can turn these corners. It's it's not good handling. I mean, it's actually quite bad handling, to what I remember. It's placed, let's see, yeah, 50th out of 55 supercars in overall lap time. So it's pretty bad. While it doesn't feel bad to handle, it's still really bad in general because it likes to just spin out, as you can see here. It's got so much torque, it just does not do very well. So the Banshee 900R, it's not a bad vehicle for the price tag, and it looks great, especially because it's got a great top speed. We're going to be putting this car into the B tier. I don't think it's a bad car. I just, again, just like the Adder, don't really think there's much of a reason to buy it. Next up, we have the Bullet. This is based off the Ford GT in real life, a very, very sexy car, although I don't think it looks personally amazing in GTA 5. I just never loved the look of the car in the game. Now, this is one of the cheapest supercars in the game at $155,000, which is not bad at all, and it also has a decent top speed of 118.75 miles per hour, for the price tag at least. Its lap time is actually the worst in the game. No joke, this is the worst handling supercar in the game. Not only can you put 0 spoiler options on it, not only does it have a pretty poor top speed in general, but yeah, I don't think it looks nice either. I just don't love the look of this car. It's mid. I mean, in real life, the Ford GT, especially this model it's based off of, the 2005 Ford GT, is an amazing vehicle. But look at the handling. Oh, it's terrible. Especially, again, when we talk about not only having a really bad top speed, but as well handling. Oh, man. Yeah, not a great vehicle at all. So let's make our way all the way back over to the ranking, and yeah, this is going into an F tier. It's just a complete F. Why would you ever buy this car? I mean, sure, it's cheap, and if you like the look of it, it's not bad. Obviously, looks are subjective, so there are people that do like the look of this vehicle, but I just think it's a really bad homage to the original Ford GT, and yeah, I just think the car is not good in any way. Why would you ever buy it? Its handling's awful. Everything's awful. Next up, we have the Dubachi Champion. Now, this car goes the same speed as the Adder, 124.75 miles per hour. Now, if we're to take a look at its handling, I don't know all the statistics of these vehicles, so I should point out now, I am using a website called gtacars.net. I think this was actually created, no joke, by Bruffy1322, very popular racing YouTuber out there. So that's where I'm double checking all these statistics of these vehicles to make sure that I'm not just blabbing my mouth. This vehicle has a top speed, yes, of 124.75 and a lap time of 1 minute 4 seconds, putting it 51st out of 55 supercars. Not very good at all. It's not the best handling. However, this vehicle does have a saving grace, which is it's got Amani tech. And yeah, that's a huge saving grace. Amani tech means that this vehicle can survive 12 homing missiles. You can also put on homing lock-on capabilities, or should I say off capabilities, so you cannot be locked on with any homing missiles. So it's not the best supercar when it comes to handling, but it's not bad either. It's not the best on acceleration or anything like that, but this supercar very easily makes its way into S tier. Not because of the handling, but more specifically because it is an Amani tech vehicle. This is the only armored supercar in the entire list. There is one other armored car, which is the Ignis. Unfortunately, I also cannot showcase that car. Not the Ignis, but the Ignis weaponized variant, because, again, I don't have next-gen console. But I would say that overall, this vehicle is great, from the homing missile capabilities of surviving 12. Also, as you'll notice, it's got semi-bulletproof windows, which is fantastic, and the fact that it's got that mobility going for it, I think it's an easy S tier. Now, it's not a cheap vehicle. It comes in at around, I think it's around $2 million. And by the way, Amani tech upgrades are not cheap either. Fully upgrading that car is easily gonna drop you over $3 million on expenses, but I definitely think it's worth it, at least in my personal opinion. Next up, we have the Cheetah. This is a $650,000 supercar. It's got an okay lap time, 44th out of the 55 supercars in the game at 1 minute and 3 seconds. It also has an okay top speed at 120.25 miles per hour, putting it 48th out of the 55 supers in the game. The problem with the Cheetah I have is I don't love the look of it. I really like having solid roof cars. You know, I like having the tone of the car's roof the same color as the rest of the car. And the Cheetah just doesn't have that. Also, its handling is just not great. I know it's a really nice car. It's based off, I think, of what, the Ferrari F50 in real life. I just don't like the look of it, like, at all. It's a pretty cheap car, though, and because of that, it's not bad. I mean, $600,000. Obviously, when this car first came out, it was a really good car. It's just not great anymore. So, again, I'm going to be putting this vehicle in the C tier, or not the C, this is the B tier. It's just not a really good car. If there was a C tier, I'd be putting it there. It's a mid car. It looks okay, But yeah, I really think what Rockstar should do is kind of revamp the car a little, give it some new liveries. Maybe then it would be a really awesome looking vehicle, but yeah, it's sticking in that category right now. Next up, we have the Coil Cyclone. This is our electric vehicle in the list. Now, I really like the look of the Coil Cyclone. I think that this car is absolutely amazing on the looks. The problem with the Coil Cyclone is that it's very expensive at around $1.9 million for being the 54th fastest supercar. That is basically last place at 116.25 miles per hour. Yeah, it's pretty dang slow. It's also not the fastest on lap times, 36th out of the 55 supers in the game, putting it at a 1 minute 1 second lap time. It's just not the best vehicle in really any category, but it is an electric car, which means it's got that amazing acceleration. I mean, you can see just how quick we got up to our top speed, and its handling isn't bad, but it is very heavy, which means that its turning is quite poor. You have to apply the brakes. But I really, really love the look of this vehicle. I think it looks mean. It's got great acceleration as well because of that electric car, and because this is really one of the only electric supercars, apart from like the Coil Voltic, which is, well, actually somehow worse than this vehicle. But yeah, I just think because of looks alone, I'm actually going to be putting this vehicle into the A tier. I just think it looks amazing, and because of that, I've got to rank it high. Obviously, when it comes to this tier list, I'm putting looks a huge factor into these vehicles, and yeah, I just think the car looks great. So if I were to completely base this off of performance, it would very easily be going into the B tier, but because it looks amazing, I'm putting it into A tier. I just think it looks fantastic. The Devastate, I think that's how you pronounce it. I never understand how to pronounce some of these cars' names in the game. You guys can correct me in the comments down below. But this vehicle is very, very fast, and it's also actually not that expensive at $1.8 million. It has a top speed of 131.75 miles per hour, and it's not very bad at all on lap time at 18th out of the 55 cars. The only problem with this car is I think it's hideous. I think that this is possibly the ugliest supercar in the game. I mean, what is that? What is that exhaust? There might be people out there that like the look of this vehicle. I think that it looks like Play-Doh that was smeared. It just looks absolutely hideous in my opinion. And yeah, I just hate it. I hate it. There's a lot of people out there that probably like the look of this car, and I'm sorry for those people, but because of that, I can't put it in S tier. I would. I mean, it's got great handling. It's got great top speed and everything going for it, but oh, I'm going to be putting it into B tier. I really got to. I just hate the look of it. I cannot put a car that looks like a butt on S tier. But if you were going off of handling, easily S tier alone. But because of the looks, it's going in the B tier. I honestly think all these other cars look nicer. I just hate the look of the Devastate. But not a bad price tag for the handling you get. If you want a good supercar when it comes to handling, not a bad vehicle at all. Next up, we have the Progen Emerus. This is a really, really solid vehicle when it comes to handling, everything. I mean, the Emerus is one of the best cars in the game. The problem is that it is a $2.75 million price tag. That's pretty dang expensive, but hey, it has a 127.25 mile per hour top speed, putting it 12th in the supercar class, and as well, a 58-second lap time, putting it 3rd out of the 55 supers in the game. Not only that, but the Emerus looks amazing. It's based off of a McLaren. I think it's based off the McLaren Senna, if I'm not mistaken, which is a super hot car in real life. Obviously, it's a tribute to Senna, who is a fantastic F1 racer. And I mean, look at this handling. It is insane handling. It's truly ridiculous. The car looks great. Everything about this car is amazing. The interior, okay, maybe not, but apart from the interior, I do think that this is just a truly amazing vehicle, and because of that, this car very, very easily makes its way into S tier. If there was an S plus tier, this car would be going there just because of how dang strong it is. So there you go, that is the McLaren Senna. Next up, we have the Entity XXR, a very weird vehicle. It's obviously based off the Koenigsegg. I really like Koenigsegg's, and we also got the Entity XF next to us, which is the OG version. Now, the XXR is a car I've never really caught that much onto because we already have the XF, and it looks very similar. I do think it looks nicer. I actually think it looks a lot nicer. And when it comes to top speed, it's pretty fast. 128 miles per hour. That's pretty dang good. The problem is the lap time. It's 47th out of the 55 supers, which is really, really bad. It's actually terrible. And let me check the price tag really quick while I'm here. Price tag is, yeah, $2.3 million. So it's an expensive vehicle. It looks nice. Don't get me wrong. I really do like the look of this car. I think the back looks really sweet. I love the look of a Koenigsegg. But I mean, look at this handling. I mean, I'm not even going full speed, and Yeah, it's just not great on the handling. And you want a good supercar when it comes to handling. I mean, it's got great looks, but man, it looks so much like the normal entity, and it really doesn't gain much from it. So this car is going to be going... you know what, let's put it into A tier. I don't think it's a bad car because it's got that great top speed, and because it's got fantastic looks as well, it's just the handling is the real downside. So overall, I do think the XXR is a great looking vehicle, and it's not bad at all, so I'm going to put it into A tier. I'm sorry, I know there's a lot of people that are going to hate me for doing it, but I just think any car that looks that sexy has to be placed at least somewhere high. Now, the Entity XF, this is an interesting vehicle. The XF is obviously the OG Koenigsegg. Has a price tag of $800,000, and it's got a pretty decent top speed for how old the car is at 121.5 miles per hour. Lap time is actually 38th, which is basically the same as the Entity XF. I just don't love the look of this vehicle. I do think the XXR looks much, much nicer. I know that this looks like the Koenigsegg it's based off of in real life. I just don't like the back of it that much. I think it is a very nice looking car, just it's not my cup of tea when it comes to looks, but it's a pretty good handling car, judging that obviously it's got a much lower top speed by almost 7 miles per hour compared to the XXR, and yet it features basically the same overall lap time. Not bad at all. So I'm actually going to be putting this car in the same ranking as the XXR just because of how impressive its handling is, and the fact that I do still think it looks nice, just not as nice as the XXR, so I think they kind of cancel each other out. Also, look at the size difference between these two vehicles. It's actually quite impressive how much larger the XF is compared to the XXR. I don't know if these cars are different sizes in real life. Also, this is my OCD's killing me. I need to slightly scoot up this car a bit, but there you go. Let's get over towards our next vehicle. Also, I just realized a bit of a problem in this tier list. All of these cars are off to the side, and the more and more we come over, I'm gonna have to be running all the way over towards the side. I'm actually gonna have to make cuts when making my way to the vehicles. Well, either way, next up we have the Vapid Fmj. This is based off of the new 4GT. The only vehicle we're actually missing when it comes to the 4GTs is the original one, which I would love for Rockstar to bring into the game. Now, when it comes to the Vapid Fmj, really nice looking vehicle. I also love the handling. It's not the best on its overall lap time at 34th, and its top speed isn't amazing at 125, putting it at 25th out of the 55 supercars in the game. I would say the biggest reason why the handling isn't great on this vehicle is down to the fact that, well, it just likes to lose grip a lot. Like, if you try to do a drift in this vehicle, it very easily spins, as you can see, but I actually personally love the way this car handles. I mean, you can see it really does a good job on turning. It's just that it likes to fishtail a lot like this here. So you got to be careful when handling this car to apply the brakes, and that is a big killer. I remember when Christmas came out and the snow dropped on San Andreas, or I guess this is Los Santos, not San Andreas, sorry. But, oh my god, the handling was just awful with this vehicle. I think it looks amazing though, especially with the stock spoiler, actually. The ducktail looks really good on this vehicle. So I'm going to be sliding this car, let's stick it into to A tier. I think it's got a lot of good statistics going for it, and because of that, I really like the vehicle. I just think it's an amazing looking car. It just stands out with almost any color, and I really like the 4GT. Rockstar did the OG 4GT really dirty, but they did this one, in my opinion, really good. And it's got some good handling this to stand by with, and it's a pretty unique vehicle. So yeah, we're definitely going to be sticking it up in A tier. Next up, we have the Grotti Furia, a very weird looking car. I think that the front looks great. Don't get me wrong. I think the front is amazing. It's got that little light bar on the front, and I think that the front looks great. It does have a pop-up spoiler on the back, which is also pretty dang sweet. The problem with the Furia is I just don't like the look of the back. It's just kind of boxy, you know? So I'm a bit mixed opinions when it comes to the Furia. It's also a very expensive vehicle, coming in at a price tag of $2.7 million. However, it's got pretty good handling, minute and 1 second lap time, putting it 28th out of 55 supers in the game, but its top speed's only 122, putting it in 40th place. So, yeah, I mean, the Furia, it's got a really cool spoiler. Look at that animation. I love the really slow spoiler animations. They look awesome in my opinion, but is it worth $2.7 million for that spoiler? No. I mean, it's got great handling. It's a very low top speed for a very good lap time, but it still just doesn't win me over. I don't like the look of this car on the back, and obviously when you're driving a vehicle, you look at the back most of the time. So this car, it's actually going to be going into a pretty mid-tier for me, which is C-ish tier? No, this is B tier. I keep forgetting. But, yeah, I don't love it. And I also think that door animation's kind of weird. Either way, let me know what you guys think about the Furia in the comments down below. Maybe I'm missing something about the car. It's just never been a car I've always been like, man, I want to drive that today. It's not. Next up, we have the I keep forgetting that I have to go this side. Next up, though, we have the Progen GP1. A pretty nice looking vehicle. Obviously, this is based off the McLaren P1, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot of different McLarens in this game. There's an F1 GT, the P1, but the GP1's a pretty nice looking car. It's got a top speed of 123 miles per hour and a lap time of, well, 45th out of the 55 supers in the game. I'm going to be real. The GP1 may look really nice. I mean, the McLarens look amazing in this game, but the problem is that it just doesn't have handling going for it. I mean, look at how bad the handling is. It's awful. This is one of the worst handling cars in the game. That's a full turn there. I hate the handling. So while it may have a decent lap time, it's like middle of the road. I actually think that this is a car nobody should buy. I personally believe that. I think it looks great, but because of how bad its handling is, combined with its mediocre top speed, I just don't really think it's a car anybody should buy. And because of that, I'm actually going to put it into like C tier, F tier. I just don't ever see a purpose for the vehicle. I know it's on the cheaper spectrum, if I'm not mistaken, for the supercars. Let me check how much it cost. It comes in at a price tag of, yeah, 1.3 million. I just don't think it's really worth it. It's just not a good vehicle, and I wouldn't ever suggest to buy it. Next up, we have the Ignis, a $2.765 million vehicle, and, well, you get 124.75 miles per hour of a top speed, and the best part about it is the actual lap time, 12th out of the 55 supers. This is obviously a newer supercar in the game. You can see by the quite detailed dash, it's got the Pegassi on the back and the carbon fiber stitching. I also think that this vehicle looks absolutely amazing. And the handling, look at this just goated handling. So when it comes to the Ignis, I actually really like this vehicle. I think it handles great. It looks amazing, got some great livery options. This is actually a car I'm very, very easily going to be putting into S tier. I just think it's a great car in almost every single category. I love everything about it. It's also got a weird door animation, very similar to the Furia, but I don't mind it as much because it's a little bit cooler, I would say, on the angle it finishes at. I don't know. I'm just blabbing my mouth at this point, but it is an S tier car. It's great handling. It's got really cool looks. I love Lamborghini personally, so yeah, I'm a bit biased on that opinion. And speaking of another Lamborghini, this is okay, I keep going to the wrong side, but this is a really old car, the Pegassi Infernus. This is a car that was also an OG vehicle. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not even mistaken, I still know the price tag. It's like $440,000, or maybe it's $495. Let me double check really quickly. The Infernus comes in at a price tag of $440,000. I was correct. The Infernus has a top speed of 117.75, quite slow, 52nd out of the 55 supers in the game, and it's also got a pretty poor lap time, 42nd out of the 55. However, the reason I don't think the Infernus is that bad is because it's incredibly cheap. It also looks pretty nice, just like kind of your average Lamborghini. But yeah, it's just a decent car in general. I don't think there's anything insane about it, but it's a good car. For $440,000, if you're a beginner in this game, it's not bad. Although I will say, very weird back end. It's very, very loose, which is not great, but actually it seems like it's sticking pretty well to the pavement here. So, you know, I have to take that back. It's not bad on its handling. I guess it's just kind of a little loose if you hold the corner too long. Either way, it's not a bad car at all. And because of that, we're actually going to be putting this into B tier. I think that this is a pretty good car for the price tag, especially if you're newer to the game. So, yeah, definitely not F tier like the stinking, what is that? I don't even remember the car's name. That's the Bullet. That's right, the Bullet. Sorry. Had a bit of a brain fart. Just, in my opinion, a pretty useless vehicle. All right, next up over here, we have the Autark GTB. Now, this is not to be mistaken with the Autark Gtb Custom, two very different vehicles. Now, I really like the Autark GTB and the Autark GTB Custom. This one comes in at a price tag of $1.18 million. Not expensive at all, actually. And, well, when it comes to top speed, pretty fast. 126, just squeezing it into 19th place for the supercars. As well, it's got a pretty decent lap time of 1 minute, 1 second, putting it 35th, just about middle of the road when it comes to supercars. To me, it's got a very similar coquette type look on the front. Actually, I think that's the same hood design as the original Coquette in the game. I also really like the look of the back of this car. Overall, I just think it's a really nice looking vehicle. It's a great looking car. Overall, there's nothing really bad to say about it. It's got a good top speed, it's got decent handling, and a decent lap time. I don't think there's anything insane about it, but because it's such a cheap price tag, I'm actually going to be putting this into A tier, because I just think that for the price tag plus the looks and the handling, not a bad vehicle at all. Definitely A tier category, especially if I'm putting the FMJ into A tier. Next up, we have one of my favorite cars in the game. In fact, probably my favorite looking supercar, and this is the Autark Gtb Custom. The Gtb Custom, I can already tell you, is going into S tier. It doesn't even matter if it was one of the worst handling cars in the game. It just looks too nice. Now, the price tag is not cheap. It's $495,000 for the upgrade. Add that in with the $1.2 million already, that's $1.7. And this is a Benny's vehicle, which means it's going to cost you a lot to upgrade it, probably about $2.5 in total, but it still looks amazing in my opinion. It's also fast, 127 miles per hour, putting it 16th in the supercar list, and as well, it's got a pretty decent lap time, but weirdly enough, it's actually got a worse lap time than the other car we just showcased. The Autark GTB stock variant actually has a better lap time. This one's 41st place, which is weird when you think about it, but you can see why. Its handling just is not great. You really have to let go of the gas to get good handling on it. This one has a much more suited, I would say it's just really good at sticking to the tarmac, as you can see. It doesn't ever lose grip, it's just great on that, but because of that, well, it definitely suffers in the other categories, specifically lap time. But it's still going in the S tier. It's not because of the handling, it's simply because I think that this is one of the nicest looking cars in the game. Just look at that. It's so sexy. I love the look of this car. If I had enough money to buy one of these in real life, this is, if I remember correctly, like a racing McLaren, I would definitely drop the money in real life. I just love the look of the vehicle. I can't diss it. I love it. Let me know what you guys think about that vehicle in the comments down below. Next up, we have the Krieger, which is another very expensive car, just like the Emerus, but obviously it's super expensive because of how strong it is on every single statistic. It's $2.875 million, lap time of 58 seconds, putting it in 5th place of the supers, and, well, it's got a great top speed of 127, putting it 13th place. So while it may be expensive, it is a very fast car. This is very clearly based off of a Mercedes. This is based off the Mercedes AMG 1. I think that's what it might be based off of. You can correct me in the comments, but yeah. Handling wise, I mean, just look at this. The car loses no grip whatsoever when popping around a corner, and very easily turns these corners as well. It's got a big old wing you can stick on the back, and it's just an amazing vehicle in general. Also looks amazing, so I absolutely love the Krieger. Definitely an S tier vehicle. Any car that makes it into the top 10 of handling is a very easy S tier. So yeah, especially that these vehicles are able to stand a chance against HSW is pretty dang impressive. Also, I love the gull wing doors, the butterfly doors, absolutely amazing. So Krieger is just a fantastic vehicle in general. Next up, we have the RE7B. I don't even need to look up the statistics of this car to tell you that it's one of my favorite cars in the game. The RE7B is based off of, I don't remember exactly what. It's not a Maserati. I think it's like a Mitsubishi or something like that. It's a very obscure car, you wouldn't think of, but it is an absolutely amazing car. I know for a fact that in real life, this actually won Le Mans, this car. And in GTA, it still does a very good job in handling. I think it's still, like, no joke, in, like, top 20th place. Let me double check just to make sure I'm not looking like a doofus. But it's got some of the best handling in the game. So the RE7B comes in at a price tag of $2.5 million. I mean, it's a pretty dang expensive vehicle, but I believe that it's an amazing vehicle. So top speed of 123.5 miles per hour, and there you go, 13th place out of the 55 supers, putting it at just under a minute at 59.77 seconds on lap time. I love the RE7B. It's always been one of my favorite cars in the game, and because of that, I have to put it in S tier. I just think it's an S tier vehicle. It looks great, has great handling. Kind of weird that we actually have more S tier vehicles in a lot of other classes right now. I love the look of it, so it has to go in S tier for me. I'm sorry for all the people that are like, yeah, you can't do that. Can I? Okay, I guess I have to go towards this side. Next up, we have the Narrow and the Narrow Custom. Now, just like the Autark GTB and the Autark GTB Custom, while these vehicles may look very similar, they actually have pretty different handling statistics going for them. The Narrow cost $1.44 million. It's a top speed of 126.5, putting it in 18th place, and a lap time of 101.495, putting it 33rd. It's actually pretty good when it comes to handling, all things considered, and oh, I love that spoiler. I love any car with a pop-up spoiler. This car has one of them. This is based off the Bugatti Chiron, if I'm not mistaken, and I actually think it looks great. Or is it the Chiron? I think that's actually how it's pronounced. I don't know. Again, I suck with pronunciation. Either way, I think that this vehicle looks great, handles really well, And it's just a better version of the Adder, 100%. So because of that, instead of putting this vehicle into the Adder's tier, which is, I think, I put it in B tier, we're going to put it one above, which would be into A tier. I just think the car looks great, and yeah, it's got a lot of good things going for it. Good top speed, great handling. It's not a bad vehicle, but I wouldn't say it's anything amazing either. So A tier, I think, does the job well. But, oh boy, now we got the Nero Custom. I love the Nero Custom. This is just a Bugatti on steroids. It's literally what it is. It's a Benny upgraded vehicle. And because of that, yeah, the Nero Custom is just an absolutely amazing vehicle. Now, it is expensive. It's over $2 million to get this vehicle with the upgrade included. But it has an amazing top speed of 127.25, and as well, it's got a great lap time of 22nd out of the 55 supers in the game. And judging that we've subtracted 5 of the supers, this thing's actually in the top 20 vehicles, and it just looks amazing. I mean, the back is great. I love that big old GT wing you can stick on it, especially with the truffade on the back for the big old T. And yeah, you can see it's actually got really good handling in general. I remember when this car came out back in the Benny's update, and it was just such a popular vehicle. This and the Italy Gtb Custom. Now, I know that this vehicle has got way better handling than the Italy Gtb Custom, and it's got a pretty similar top speed, but it still is an absolutely amazing vehicle, and because of that, I'm going to very easily be sliding this right on up into S tier. It looks great. It's got fantastic handling. I mean, what's not to love about the Nero Custom? Up next, we have an OG, but I still think it's an amazing vehicle. This is the Osiris. The Osiris is, well, just an amazing car. It's based off the Bugatti Chiron, if I'm not mistaken, and it's not a cheap vehicle. I mean, for how old this vehicle is, it's not cheap at all, coming in at a price tag of, wow, yeah, $1.95 million. As well, it's got a pretty good top speed of 122. It's not great, but the lap time makes up at 30th place. That's actually pretty impressive for how old this vehicle is. I personally believe that this is one of the nicest looking cars in the game. I think the back looks amazing, and I think the front, that is just one of the meanest fronts in the game. So overall, I love this vehicle. I absolutely love it. It's just such an amazing car. The problem is, well, yeah, you definitely got to apply the brakes when turning this vehicle. It's not the best there, but hey, for such an old vehicle still holding 30th place on lap time, that is pretty dang impressive. Very easily, I'm going to be sliding this car into the A tier when it comes to rankings, because I just think it looks amazing. I mean, how can you not put this into A tier on rankings? Also, it's got the gull wing doors again, although look at how thick that door is. I've never understood why Rockstar made that door so thick. Next up, we have the Ocelot Penetrator. I hate the name of the vehicle. It sounds so weird. Yeah, I'm going to penetrate an Ocelot. Sorry, guys. Sorry for that image, but seriously, I hate the name of it. Now, this car in real life is based off the Jaguar Xj220, one of the fastest cars in the world at the time, 220 miles per hour. It looks amazing. I love this vehicle. Absolutely love it. The front's a bit weird, but the Xj220 in real life is also a really weird-looking vehicle, so it doesn't surprise me. Now, the Xj220, or should I say the Ocelot Penetrator in GTA, is actually a surprisingly fast vehicle. This is like a 90s car in real life, so I'm surprised Rockstar gave it a pretty impressive top speed for especially only $880,000 of 124 miles per hour, although its lap time's pretty mid at 39th place with 1 minute and 2 seconds. So, yeah, it's not the best vehicle on handling. I do gotta say, though, that is one sexy engine block. The fact that you can see it straight through the car looks absolutely amazing. It's one of the reasons why, actually, in my own personal garage, I do not have window tint, is so I can see that beautiful Jaguar engine shoved in the back of the vehicle. I think it's even a V12, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong, but either way, the car looks amazing. It's got a lot of historical reference behind it, and for how cheap it is at, again, only $880,000, I'm actually gonna be putting this car into A tier. I just think it looks great. It's got everything going for it, and yeah, just great car. A tier easily for the price tag, followed by the looks and everything. Yeah, love it. Next up, we have the Pfister 811. Now, this car is interesting. It's based off the Porsche, what is it? The Porsche 918 Spider, one of the fastest cars in real life, and that's also the case for Grand Theft Auto 5. The Pfister 811 goes at a top speed of 132.5 miles per hour, making it the 4th fastest car in the list, which is insane when you think about it. As well, its handling's bad. It's 43rd out of 55. But that makes sense because it sacrifices all that fantastic top speed to have absolutely awful handling. So, yeah, I guess you got to make one of those trades, right? Price tag is actually not too bad at $1.1 million. I actually, I don't mind that too much. This car looks amazing in my opinion. The front's a bit weird, kind of fish-eyed for how separated the front is, but it's obviously based off of Porsche. And I actually think it looks pretty similar to the real-life car, especially the back as well. And I actually love the look of this car when it comes to the back design. It just looks amazing. I think that this is one of the nicest looking rear ends in the game. Sexy. But yeah, seriously, I really love the look of this car. I think it's amazing. You can also make this a convertible or just take off the roof altogether. So I really like the look of this car. I like everything about it. We're actually going to be putting this in A tier. It's just such a nice car. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about the Fister in the comments, but I love it. Next up we have, this is the X80 Proto. Now this car is actually going to be going into well, it's going to be going into F tier, and for one reason, that's because the handling's broken. When you turn the car to the left, to what I remember hearing, it drifts, and to the right, it doesn't. So we'll test that. Yeah, look at that. To the left, it drifts, but if we turn it to the right, no problems whatsoever. Look at that. So fantastic handling to the right, but turn to the left, and yeah, that's so weird. I don't know why Rockstar made the handling poob on this car, especially when you add into the price tag. Let me go see the price tag. I know that for a while, this was one of the most expensive cars in the game at, what was it, like a ridiculous $2.8 million. Yeah, it's a really, really expensive car. So, yeah, the X80, I don't really see a reason behind buying it. It's so expensive, and yeah, it's not great. Top speed is good. Top speed is really, really good on this vehicle. 128 miles per hour, so it's got great top speed. I also think it looks amazing, but just because it can't handle, it definitely does not make it into any good ranking, and we're going to put it into F tier, especially for the price tag. So let's put it right over here. I'm not even going to bother to go over the lap time because, yeah, obviously it doesn't deserve a good lap time when the car can't even handle for itself. Next up, we have the Reaper. Sorry, it's getting harder and harder to see these vehicles because they are getting so far away. Now, the Reaper is just kind of an average Lamborghini. I'm not exactly sure what Lamborghini is based off of in real life, but it's a $1.6 million car, not actually that expensive. 40th place on lap time and 121 miles per hour. Yeah, I mean, it's not an expensive vehicle, and it looks really nice. I don't mind the back. I think the front looks great. I don't love the back personally, but it is a Lambo, and it looks very Lamborghini. The problem is that it just doesn't have great handling, and when you have a car like this that is quite expensive for the handling that it features, I mean, when you think about it, the Adder has basically the same handling, and it's got a better top speed. Why would you ever buy this vehicle when an Adder exists? I mean, sure, this car is a really unique looking vehicle, and that's really the only reason why you'd buy it is because of the uniqueness. So I'll put it into B tier. There's nothing necessarily wrong about it, but I just don't see a reason why anybody would buy the car. Next up, we do have the Annis S80RR. This is a Le Mans vehicle, and oh boy, we all know how Le Mans cars are. They are absolutely amazing when it comes to basically everything, specifically handling. So the S80RR comes in at how much money? $2.575 million. That's a lot. But it does feature 9th place on lap time and a pretty good top speed of 123 miles per hour. Nothing crazy, but for the Le Mans vehicles, that's about pretty stock average. I do really like the look of this car. It's my least favorite, personally, of the Le Mans cars when it comes to the looks, but it still does look really, really nice. And, I mean, hey, sitting in 9th place for lap time, I mean, look at this ridiculous handling. It is pretty insane. So I do love the S80RR for all the strengths it has going for it. Absolutely fantastic vehicle. The only thing I hate is look at the front bumper. You'll notice that when you're driving the car, the front bumper goes into the ground. Lower, 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 and yeah, boom, right into the ground. I don't like that. I hate that Rockstar did that. It's something that really irritates me about the vehicle. So because of that, well, we're going to be putting the S80RR, it's, you know what, it's in 10th place for handling. We're going to be putting it into S tier. I mean, any car that's in the top 10 of handling, it's got to be an S tier. Also, I still think it looks great. Just kind of weird that it goes into the ground when you do drive it. Next up, we have the SC1. This is based off like the BMW i8, I think. I don't exactly know what this car is based off of in real life. I know that it is a Beamer. The problem is that, well, it's kind of a weird looking car, isn't it? I don't mind the look of it, actually. I think it's a really unique looking vehicle, and I actually kind of like the look. I think it looks pretty unique at that. But, well, it's not the best car to what I remember statistically, but let's take a look really quickly. This is one of those cars that I just don't really care to remember that much about. So the SC1 costs $1.6 million, 120 mile per hour top speed, and, wow, lap time of 103, putting it in 46th place. So Yeah, this is just a pretty bad car overall. It's expensive at $1.6 million for the fact that it's really got nothing good going for it. It's not fast. It doesn't have a good lap time. It doesn't even have good acceleration, it seems like. And it's also not the best looking car in my opinion. It's kind of too long, I feel like, you know? The back just extends too far in my opinion for the overall dimensions of this vehicle. So, when you add all those together, yeah, the SC1, sorry Beamer, this may be one of your only supercars in the game, but this car is going to be going into F tier. There's no reason to buy it. The cars that I put in F tier are the ones that I see really no reason to buy. And sure, it's a really unique looking vehicle, but I don't think I've ever once seen somebody driving the SC1 ever in an online session. It's just not a vehicle you see. Next up, we have the Emperor ETR1. This is based off of the Lexus LFA in real life. An absolutely amazing vehicle. One of the best engine sounds in real life. The LFA, I just love it. And in GTA, it's got absolutely amazing handling. Emperor ETR1 comes in at a price tag of $1.99 million, top speed of 120, but it's really the lap time that's great. While this vehicle may not feature a fantastic top speed, it's actually still able to finish 25th out of the supercars in the game. That's pretty impressive. I mean, if this car went any faster, it would really feature a super strong lap time. It really doesn't, and that's the real killer of this car. But I still think it looks amazing, and wait until you see this handling on the vehicle. Like, obviously, again, it's not very fast, but I still think that this handling is so nice for the vehicle. This is one of my favorite cars in the game. I just think it looks so nice. Everything about it is great. And, I mean, for the price tag of $1.9 million, still featuring a lap time that's actually pretty good is not bad. I'm going to be putting it into A tier. Looking-wise, I'd easily put it in the S tier because I love the way it looks, but, well, you can't put every car into S tier. And for the fact that that vehicle is still pretty expensive and the fact that it doesn't feature the most amazing lap time, well, yeah, we're just not going to be putting it into S tier. Now, this is a car that, it looks kind of cool. I mean, we've got a almost naked lady on it, which is pretty sweet. And look at that engine. I don't even think that's the engine. The engine's in the front. Yeah, it is. Look at the tubing. I'm not sure exactly what that is in the back. Maybe a radiator or something like that. But the car looks great. I love the Sultan RS. What is this? Just this? Yeah, it's just the Sultan RS. I don't know why they didn't name it like the Custom or something like that. But the problem with the Sultan RS is that it's expensive, first of all. To fully upgrade this car, it'll probably drop you $1.5 million. And it's slow. It's really slow. 117 miles per hour. That's awful. It's also 49th on lap time. I mean, it's just, why would you ever buy this vehicle? It does have great acceleration, don't get me wrong. This is one of the fastest accelerating supers in the game. But who gives a diddly squat when you'd never ever reach your top speed even close compared to other vehicles? I mean, think about it. There are supercars in the game that go almost 15 miles per hour faster than this vehicle. That is pretty sad when you think about it. So I'm not even going to bother to drive it. The car looks really cool. I mean, it looks great. But because of that, beep, sorry everybody that loves the look of this car. I actually own this car. I think it looks amazing. And looking wise, I'd easily put it in the S tier. But because I think it is a redundant vehicle, there's no reason to ever buy one, yeah, it's just got to go into F tier. There's no point. Next up, we have the T20. This is based off of a McLaren. I'm not exactly sure which McLaren, but it looks great. This is an old car. This car is so old that it's the last vehicle that I remember being added to Xbox 360 before they stopped giving the game updates. Now, when it comes to the T20, it's a really cool vehicle. $2.2 million, fast top speed of 122, and as well, pretty good lap time of 1 minute, 1 second. That's 27th place. When you think about it, that's actually pretty dang impressive. Also, it was the first car that I actually know of that had a pop-up spoiler, which is also pretty dang impressive. So the T20 overall looks great, has great handling. For how old of a vehicle it is in this game, I actually think it's a pretty impressive car. And it just has nothing bad on it when it comes to looks. Absolutely amazing. The problem with the T20 is it's just been outdated. When this car first came out, alongside the Osiris, this was by far one of the best cars in the game, right up there with the Osiris. They were neck and neck. Unfortunately, nowadays, it just, well, it doesn't really hold the same the same grip it used to. I still think it looks amazing, but it's going to go into, unfortunately, a B tier ranking, down to the simple fact that it costs so much money for, well, in my opinion, not that great of a performance compared to the other supers in the game. It's impressive, just not impressive enough. Next up, we have the, is this the Furia? No, this isn't the Furia. This is a Taipan. That's right, the Taipan. This is a weird car. It's a car that I don't like the back of. It's actually a really cool front. I just don't like the back, and because of that, well, it doesn't rank very high for me on looks. It's also quite an expensive car at just about $2 million, but features a really good top speed of 126 miles per hour. But you know what it doesn't feature? A good lap time. This car has absolutely awful lap time. It's 53rd. I mean, think about that. 53rd. It's ugly, it features an awful lap time, and the only thing it has is top speed. Might as well just buy a Pfister 811 at that point, because at least the Pfister's got other things going for it. Look at that. Look at how bad its handling is. Literally spins out on every corner. Even just going this slow and the car still wants to spin out. Do not buy the Taipan. I mean, I guess if you like the look of it, it's not bad. And as long as you don't make any corners, I guess it's interesting. You can see here, though, even the acceleration is absolutely awful on the vehicle. So I would never, ever suggest to buy it. It's just a bad car in general. And because of that, it's going straight into F tier. Sorry, Taipan, you did it to yourself. I don't know why Rockstar just didn't give it good handling, because if it had good handling, I wouldn't hate it so much. But it's the fact that it's kind of ugly and it's got really bad handling combined. It's just not a good combination. Next up, we have an absolutely amazing Lamborghini. This is based off the Hurricane Special, whatever, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I love this vehicle. The Tempesta has one of the best lap times in the game, which is weird, because it's not a Le Mans vehicle. There's nothing really special looking about it, and it's not expensive either, only at $1.3 million, but, well, it's also not a great top speed either at 121 miles per hour. But it actually features a lap time just about 1 minute on the dot, putting it in 19th place. That's actually impressive for how cheap this vehicle is and the fantastic lap time it carries, plus the fact that it looks absolutely amazing, in my opinion. It's actually a great vehicle. I mean, there's nothing bad about this car. For the price, it's just amazing. Look at this handling. Absolutely stunning handling. Again, for a vehicle that is not a Le Mans car. So it's not the fastest, and I really don't love the interior. I wish Rockstar would decorate these interiors a bit more. But either way, it's a pretty good car overall. And because of that, I'm actually going to be putting it into S tier, just for how cheap it is and for everything going for it. Plus, look at that sexy engine in the back. I'm not sure if this carries a V12. I would guess that it does, but either way, I mean, you cannot go wrong with the Tempesta. Such a beautiful looking car. Next up, I know the design of that car from anywhere. That is the Tesseract, one of our other electric supercars in the game. Tesseract is a weird vehicle. It's the fastest of the electrics, apart from the Coil Cyclone 2, but unfortunately you cannot get your hands on that vehicle in my current version. Tesseract is fast, actually 125 miles per hour for a super in the electric category, pretty good. As well, it's got a decent lap time of 26th place. When it comes to electric cars, I actually think this is a pretty impressive one. Not only does it look amazing in my personal opinion, but it's got everything going for it when it comes to the electric cars. Again, if you aren't playing on a console that is new generation and you don't have access to the HSW vehicles, this is the best electric car you're going to get, and it looks awesome. Even though the Coil Cyclone 2 looks awesome in my opinion as well, I still think this car looks cooler. It's just such an amazing looking vehicle, especially when you get to see all those cathodes and I don't know what you call them in the back. Either way, they're electrical things. Somebody's going to tell me I'm a moron for cathodes. Aren't those like medical equipment? Either way, I think the vehicle looks amazing. It's just such a cool vehicle. Because of that, I'm actually going to put it in A tier. I was thinking about S tier, but it's not an S tier vehicle. Let's be real. It's a really good car, but I don't think it's S tier worthy. Next up we have, I'm not actually sure. I think this is the, oh no, it's not. That's the Thrax. That's what it is. Wasn't really sure what it was until we got up to it. Now the Thrax is, well, it's an interesting vehicle. It's obviously based off of a Bugatti. Maybe the Devo, I think this is based off of. I really like Bugattis, personally. I think they look amazing. And I love the look of the Thrax. I think this is one of the nicest looking cars in the game when it comes to the superclass. The Thrax is $2.3 million, which is pretty expensive, but it does feature a good top speed of 124 miles per hour, and even better, it's 10th place on lap time, 59 seconds. So actually really impressive. Overall, the Thrax, it looks amazing. The back, I love the way they've done those back lights. They look great. The exhaust looks absolutely amazing, and the fact that this car not only has the looks, but look at that super duper good grip. I mean, the Thrax is just an amazing vehicle, and because of that, for $2.3 million, I actually don't think that's that bad of a price tag, especially for just everything going for it. So let me know what you think about the Thrax in the comments down below, but because this vehicle has everything going for it, plus not that expensive, I'm very easily going to be sliding this right on into S tier of a vehicle. I love it so much. Alright, well, we are starting to narrow down the list. There's not too many vehicles left to go. Man, we have ranked so many. Next up, we have a car that I don't even know the name of. I'm going to be real. Does it start with like a Z? It doesn't. This is the Tigon, that's right. Tigon, this is a car I've never actually owned in GTA, and the reason behind that is I hate the look of it. I do think the backlights are really cool, and I think in real life this is based off the P40, or not the P44, just the Pantera de Tomaso, which I love the look of. In GTA that's called the Osiris, and this is like the modernized version, but I just hate the look of it. I think that I don't mind the front, I just really, really hate the back. Yeah, not my favorite looking vehicle. Now, the Tigon is $2.3 million, and when it comes to top speed, it's 125 miles per hour, and when it comes to lap time, it's not bad. 16th place, and it's a minute on the timer. It's actually a pretty decent vehicle overall, all things considered. It's just really ugly, in my opinion, and who wants to buy an ugly supercar, especially because it's not a good enough lap time, in my opinion, to really warrant anything special. Like, you can see the handling is really good. Look at that handling. Fantastic. Just doesn't really have enough of a acceleration or lap time, but yeah, man, I just hate the look of it. It's such a weird vehicle. Even the livery that was put on this vehicle, I made sure that it was ugly because just because I hate the look of this car. So I'm going to be putting it into B tier. It's just, no. I would put it in the F tier. I'm going to be real. In my opinion, it's an F tier car. Oh my god, look at how ugly it looks with the door open too. But yeah, can I not close this door? Oh, there you go. Look at that, slowly closed. But yeah, Tigon is just a vehicle I've never cared about, I've never purchased, I've never known anything about it because I've never liked the look of it. Now this is a car I love the look of. This is the Turismo R, an OG car in Grand Theft Auto 5. I think it comes in at a price tag of around, what, $500,000? Let's see, where is it? Turismo, yes, $500,000 on the dot. The Turismo is a good top speed, 121.75 miles per hour, and an okay lap time of 1 minute 1 second, putting it in 37th place. The thing about the Turismo R is that while it may not be the fastest car in the game, while it may not be the best handling, it's just a really nice looking car. And the fact that it's so cheap as well, and if you own the Criminal Enterprise Starter Pack, you get it for free, I actually think makes it great. Also, it's got some fantastic spoiler options now. This is a weird one. I don't know why it has this one equipped, but overall, I still think the car looks great, absolutely amazing, and yeah, I would very easily rank this in A tier for how cheap it is, the history behind it, one of the OG cars in the game. I actually just love the vehicle. It's super freaking hot. So yeah, easily A tier, especially for how cheap it is. Next up, we have the Tyrant. This is another McLaren, if I'm not mistaken. The problem I have with the Tyrant is just how wide it is. Like, look at how wide the Tyrant is compared to the next car over here. It's such a wide vehicle. I don't really like that because of that. Ugh, yeah, it's too wide for me. Now, I actually think the Tyrant, if I'm not mistaken... Oh, didn't mean to break the window. Oopsie doopsie. But if I'm not mistaken, the Tyrant's actually a pretty fast vehicle. If we were to take a look... Oh, there you are. Tyrant comes in at a price tag of $2.5 million. And yeah, it is fast. It's got a top speed of 127 miles per hour. And it's got a lap time of 1 minute 1 second, putting it in 29th place. It is an expensive vehicle, though, $2.5 million. So here's the problem with the Tyrants I have. First of all, I don't like the look of it. I think the back is ugly, in my opinion. And it's just too wide of a vehicle. And the interior has literally no design. Also, it's not a good lap time at all. So when you add all these together, the only thing it really has is top speed, but it's kind of like the Taipan in that example, just a little bit better lap time. So overall, I don't really like the Tyrant, and I wouldn't ever suggest anybody to buy it. It's not an F tier car, but it's also not anything better. It's a B tier car. I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's good either. I wouldn't ever tell anybody to buy it if they asked me about supercars. So yeah, it's a mid vehicle. Next up, we have another McLaren hitting the list, and this is actually one of my favorite vehicles in the game. I absolutely love the look of it. This is the Tyrus. Tyrus is such an amazing looking vehicle. Now, it is still actually quite impressive for how well it holds up in lap time. This was originally released in the Cunning Stunt update. $2.55 million, 123.5 miles per hour, and as well, 30-second lap time. I mean, it's not amazing. The lap time isn't great because its top speed isn't great. It's got super good handling, just it's not as good as some of the other cars. But I personally believe that this is one of the nicest looking cars in the game. I love the look of it. It's based off of McLaren F1 GT. It also sounds amazing. I love the sound. And yeah, I mean, I just can't ever hate on this car. It looks so amazing, sounds amazing. It's a 90s supercar. Also, it's got some Mosler looks in it, some Celine S7. I just can't ever hate on the vehicle, and because of that, easily A tier. I would put it in S tier because of the looks, but it just doesn't have enough handling anymore to really really stand in the S tier class, but still an absolutely amazing vehicle. Next up, is that the Pegassi Vodka? I think that's what it is. The Vodka is a very, very old vehicle. It's based off the Lamborghini Gallardo in real life, if I'm not mistaken, which is like the worst Lamborghini you can buy. It's the run-of-the-mill cheapest Lamborghini, and that's also the case in GTA, as it's quite a cheap vehicle, sitting at $240,000, but it's quite fast at 120 miles per hour. Although lap time-wise, well, yeah, 48th place. I mean, it's a cheap supercar. That's the best way I can word it. It looks really nice. As you can see, the back of it looks fantastic in my opinion. The front also, not bad. It's a really nice looking car. The sides are great. It's just a cheap supercar. That's really all there is to say. In the sports class, this car wouldn't even be that impressive still with its handling and top speed. So I can't really say much good about it, but I also can't say much bad about it. It's just going to go into B tier. It's a B car. And, yeah, I mean, I still think it's a better deal than, like, the Tyrant or the Tigon, because it's such a cheap vehicle in comparison, and it's not that much worse when it comes to top speed. But, yeah, I still really wouldn't ever suggest to buy it. Now, this is the Wagner. In real life, it's based off the Aston Martin Valkyrie, if I'm not mistaken, which is a really, really cool vehicle. I just love the look of this car. Such a cool vehicle, isn't it? And, well, it's also a really, really good handling car in GTA, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the Wagner, we gotta go find this. There you are. $1.5 million. Actually not that expensive, especially when you realize that it's 8th on handling for lap time, 59 seconds, and as well a top speed of 126.75. It's at 17th place. I mean, the price tag is amazing for the vehicle. Looking wise, the price tag is amazing for how well this car handles everything. This is one of the easiest S tier rankings by far. I mean, it's just such a cool vehicle. And look at the handling on this thing. I mean, it handles like butter, glides through the air just like it does in real life. I absolutely love the look of this vehicle, and it's also got a really cool interior. Plus, you can see that engine right in the back. So overall, I really, really like the Wagner. Let me know what you guys think about this car in the comments down below, but there is no dispute in my mind that this is a super, super easy S tier ranking. So let's park it right here. All right. Oh, I parked that car a little bit off balance. Oh, and I also forgot to mention it's got the butterfly doors. Okay, I guess we're not closing that door. Only a couple more cars to go. We got to run all the way down to the end. Next up, we have the Vision. Is this the Grotti Vision? I'm not sure exactly which company makes this car in real life. I've seen this car before. Really, really cool looking vehicle. And if I'm not mistaken, this is also another really good car in the game. So the Grotti Vision, if I can find where it is, costs $2.25 million. Not cheap. But it does have a good lap time, 23rd place, and top speed of 24th place, sitting at 125 miles per hour. In my opinion, you're not buying this car for anything when it comes to handling or lap time. You're buying it for the looks. And I gotta be real, it looks absolutely amazing. Just look at the engine. You can literally see the engine on the vehicle in there, the fan belt spinning. Absolutely amazing. As well, this car, it's got just such a cool back in general. It's got a really, really cool interior. All the dials move. I just think that this car looks amazing. It does everything you'd want. Plus, look at how mean the front is. So, even though this car is expensive, even though it doesn't have the best handling or really anything going for it, I still think it's A tier. I don't think it's S tier, because S tier vehicles, in my opinion, just absolutely smoke this car. But it just looks amazing, and you cannot doubt a vehicle that looks that cool. So very easily sits into our A tier category. Next up, oh, I'm sorry, Coil, you're getting an F tier. This is the Coil Voltic, a car that is obviously a mix of a Tesla and a Lotus. It looks really cool in my opinion, and it's got good acceleration. You'll notice here, it accelerates really fast, but I think this is, if I'm not mistaken, the worst top speed supercar in the game. It's like 112 or something like that. The Voltic costs 150 grand, and it is a top speed of 106. It's the 54th lap time vehicle. Somehow, believe it or not, somehow the Bullet, which goes 121 miles per hour, is actually slower than this vehicle. I don't know how that's possible. I would guess it's because you can actually put a spoiler on this car, plus it is electric, which means it's got great acceleration. I actually really like the look of this car. Like, it's a little outdated, the front grill's mid, and yeah, I mean, it's definitely needing a bit of a rework, but I still think the car looks great, and I love Lotus, so I hate to put it here, but sorry Elon, sorry Lotus, you're going down into the bottom tier. It's just how it's got to be. Next up is a car that I can't see because it's so far away, so we got to run a little bit closer, but to me that looks like the XA21, and yes, it is. Now, the XA21, it's an amazing looking car. I actually think that this is another one of the best looking cars in the game. It's obviously based off a Jaguar in real life. Absolutely amazing looking vehicle. I can't ever say bad about the car because it looks so nice. Now, this car costs $2.375 million, has a top speed of 122.5, but it's got an amazing handling value of 14th out of 55 supercars and 59th, or not 59th, but 59 seconds on the lap time. Plus, look at the spoiler. It's so hot. This car sounds amazing. I mean, the engine just blah, 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 blah. So it sounds amazing. It's got a digital speedo, which I love. The interior is really detailed. You can see the engine right over the back. I love this car. There's nothing bad to say about it. And because of that, even though it is, in my opinion, an A-tier vehicle on handling, I'm putting it in the S-tier. It's just such a beautiful car, in my opinion. And it's also got the pop-up spoiler. It's just, you can't say anything bad about the car. It just looks so nice. It's got butterfly doors. Oh no, that's not butterfly. Is that gull-wing? I never understand the differences. Either way, it's got doors that go up, and that's cool. So I absolutely love the XA21. It's a car I will never ever say anything bad about. Up next we have the Zeno, I think this is. It's a pretty decent car. I don't love the front look. It's a really mean looking vehicle, and well, I have to say I hate the look of the door. Look at how ugly and thick that door is. It's so weird. The back of the car, actually, I think looks really, really nice. Now, the Zeno Xeno, it's a pretty cool car. I actually think it is a pretty cool car in general. And if we were to take a look at its overall statistics, well, it's $2.8 million, which is really expensive. And, well, that's a big bummer because its top speed is great, 127.5, but 31st place on handling? Yeah, I hate to break it to you, Rockstar. I don't know what you were thinking with this car. Like, sure, it looks, wow, what the heck is it doing there? But it looks cool, but it also looks kind of like a toad, in my opinion, on the front. I don't know, it's not a great car for the price tag. It's got good handling. I mean, you can see here it turns really well. It just doesn't have acceleration, and that's why it doesn't sit very well in lap time. Also, that's a very weird exhaust design, I gotta be real. But obviously, you can probably change the exhaust on this car. I've never owned this vehicle. I've just never had a reason to own it because of its handling and everything. But the fact that it's $2.8 million, also the fact that I think it's kind of ugly, yeah, I just don't think it's a great car. It's going to go into B tier in my opinion because it's a pretty B tier car. Too expensive for what you're getting. Next up we have the... I still can't tell what this is. We're too far away. Zentorno. That's right. Zentorno. Man, I love the Zentorno. $725,000 for this car. I know that because of just... I mean, I've always wanted this vehicle when it first came out in the game, and when I got my hands on it, it's such an amazing looking vehicle. It looks so nice. Now, the Zentorno goes 122 miles per hour, and believe it or not, it is still 20th in supercar placing. That is amazing. The fact that this car only costs 700 grand and it's still 20th place on supercars, plus Rockstar just amped it up with a fantastic livery bonus. I personally love this vehicle. It's got everything going for it that you'd want on a supercar, and I'm actually putting this in S tier. I do believe that in a true world I would put it in A tier, but it just looks too nice. It is an amazing looking vehicle, and add that on the fact with it being one of the better handling cars in the game, and it's only 700 grand. Yeah, sorry. This very easily fits into S tier in my opinion. I just love the car, and I can't really say much bad about it. So we got a couple more vehicles left. I think, is that just it? 2 more vehicles? Oh wait, no, I think that's 3 more vehicles in total. The first vehicle we got is the Zerasso. I actually love the Zerasso. The livery on it I think is awful. This is like one of the worst paint jobs I've ever seen put on it, but the car itself looks amazing in my opinion. I think the front looks great, the back looks great. I love that entire tail light design. I think that's amazing, and the car can have its top removed. So overall, I love the look of the Zerasso. Now, when it comes to price tag, it's not too bad at $1.925 million, and it's also not bad on handling. It's 21st, and it's got a top speed of 124 miles per hour. Weirdly enough, even though it's almost 3 times the price tag of the Zentorno, it's actually worse on handling. But I still think the car looks amazing, and as we know, looks are a big, big thing when it comes to vehicles. I think the back looks amazing too. You can see the whole action exhaust on the back there. I love the look of this vehicle. It's too nice of a car for me to ever hate on. I'm going to put it into A tier. Because of the looks. I think that it's in line with some of the B tier vehicles, although it does have a good lap time, as we just talked about. 21st place, not bad at all, especially for the price tag, only at around $2 million. Next up, we have the Annis. That is the LM87. I actually don't think that's Annis now that I think about it, but it is a very, very fast Le Mans car. Also, a very expensive car. I don't know if, actually, I think that is the most expensive supercar in the game. The LM87 costs $2.915 million, which is just ridiculous when you think about it. It has 6th place handling, which is amazing, and as well, a top speed of 128 miles per hour, putting it in 8th place for top speed. This vehicle has it all. It has handling, it has acceleration, it has top speed, and I mean, just look at the handling. It's ridiculous. This is just a truly keeper vehicle. Plus, the inside is amazing. It looks great. You can see the inner workings of the vehicle. If you look kind of through, you can see the engine, everything like that. This is just an amazing vehicle, and it's definitely worth the price tag. Sure, it might be an incredibly expensive supercar, but who gives a flying turd when it is such a good vehicle on handling and everything else like that? So, very easily, this car is going to be sitting itself into the S tier. I mean, it's just, how could it not be an S tier? The final vehicle I know for a fact we have is the Torero Xo, because it's the only vehicle left we see. I've been recording for 1 hour and 6 minutes. Wow, that is quite impressively a long amount of time. So again, if you enjoyed today's video and you'd like to see more like it, please do consider smashing that subscribe button now. The Torero Xo is one of my favorite vehicles in the game for a couple reasons. First of all, this is based off of the original Countach, which I love. The Torero Xo is the second most expensive supercar in the game at $2.89 million. That is really, really expensive, but it's got a lot of handling going for it. 131 miles per hour top speed puts it in 6th place, which is insane. Also, it's 11th place out of these supercars in handling. Also, look at this. Look at these headlights. Oh, I love it. I love the fact that the headlights go like that. It's the coolest pop-up design ever. The back of the car looks amazing in my opinion. It does have a pop-up spoiler, which you can use occasionally if you get the car kitted out due to the way you like it. Overall, yeah, there you go. You can see the pop-up spoiler. Overall, I love the look of this car. It is just such an amazing looking vehicle. The interior is very highly detailed, and because of that, yeah, the Torero Xo is very easily also situating itself in S tier. So, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There are so many vehicles in Grand Theft Auto Online. 55 supers in total, and we ranked just 50 of them. Now, this is just the beginning of the rankings we can do. I mean, there's also the sports car class. Oh, okay, my character didn't like that very much. And the sports car class has like 80-something vehicles, almost 90. So, yeah, that's going to be even more painful. That's an extra 30 cars added on to what we've already reviewed here. So, yeah, either way, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. This is my ranking. If you want to pause the video and, like, take a look at all the vehicles paused here, then go do yourself a favor and do that. But, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. I wanted to do this ranking a bit different than your average ranking video. A lot of times people just have little pictures of the car. I don't think that's as exciting. I think it's much more cool if we do it like this in a live ranking system. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.